Some of you have been writing out coronavirus with the We Can Still Dream event since April, and I really, really appreciate that. So thank you for following along with us. And for those of you that will know Lynn from Saba. She did a presentation for us on the original weekend that kind of kickstarted all of this. And we had no idea at the time we still would be doing it. We do try and do different destinations and different topics. And why I asked Lynn back this evening is because she has a truly fascinating program and something that's really close to my heart. And that's the See and Learn experience. So it puts an entire different spin and level on what's already a fabulous island and magnificent diving. So she is here this evening to share this with you. Without further ado, over to Lynn.
Well, thank you, Cheryl, and thank you everybody for taking time out of your evening. We're certainly, and thanks to everyone at Deep Blue for making this happen. We're all living in different times, so hopefully this is a positive, and by all means, yes, we can all still dream. Before I start, and certainly I can answer more questions at the end, I thought it was important just to say one thing, because some people have heard of the island of Saba, some people know nothing about it because it is a small island, but it's not just a small island on its own. Saba is part of the Netherlands, or Holland, as most of us say in the United States. And that's a wonderful thing. I'm American myself, but I've lived here for 30 years. And we're getting great support from the Dutch. So we are definitely going to be around when we're all ready to travel. And because Saba is part of the Netherlands, we, as an island, will be getting the vaccine not so long after the Netherlands. So if you're watching the news every day and it's like, okay, it's happening in England, it's happening in Germany, know that when you hear that it's rolling out in the Netherlands, which should be the first week of January, Saba will start getting vaccinated very soon thereafter. And because we're a small population, we're an easy population to fix. So we're hoping with the help of the Dutch Navy and such that that's going to happen fairly quickly. So we're optimistic. We all need to be optimistic. So let's talk about something fun. So the title of my talk is The Evolution from Questions to an Event. And we're going to be 18 years doing this program that I started. So I thought I would start, and if anybody can't hear me or something's wrong, please tell Cheryl or Carrie, and I'm sure they can get that message to me. So here is just a little fun clip of a turtle, because turtles are one of the big questions that I started with. So this is the evolution of how and why I started this program and where we got to today. So one of the questions I had in my earlier days as a diver was, living on Saba, is how does Saba have so many turtles when we don't have beaches? So questions like this is how I got to where we are today. So let me explain further what that means. So here I am on the left in 1989 with John and the original owners of Saba Dive Center. That's our original building back then. And just a fun shot to show you, yep, I've been here 30 years. And back then we didn't have phones and taking 20 pictures of ourselves every day. So I just wanted to show an old picture or two to show that, yeah, you know, I used to be out on a dive boat every day. And even back then, before the word citizen science and citizen scientists came about, journalists and scientists recognized that dive guides who are out there every day diving the reefs again and again are actually very valuable because they notice changes. They notice seasonalities. They notice patterns and different behavioral things. And for me, that transferred at another level, because this is showing you that living with a photographer means I don't have normal vacations. But it also meant a few things John taught me early on. And one thing was that the more you know your subject matter, the easier it will be for you to find it and to know how it will react and therefore get a better image. Well, what does that have to do with what I'm talking about tonight? Well, John also taught me as a diver that never discount the sand. or never discount any habitat underwater. Although we all like to dive beautiful reefs, sometimes we're seeing really interesting stuff out in the sand, under a dock, in crazy places where you would think, oh, you wouldn't want to dive that, but for whatever reason, it's an interesting habitat. We did a camping trip in Australia once for 2 weeks and just dove this jetty where fishermen fished every day. And because it was windy and their lawn chairs blew over the dock and their jackets were there, we found amazing things, from blue ring octopus to crazy decorator crabs and leafy sea dragons. And we found the frogfish we were looking for. Anyway, my point is, these are things I've learned early on, but it also boded more questions. So like the day that John came home tickled pink because he found his first sargassum frogfish, or the day that we spent 55 minutes in a eel garden, a garden eel area, looking for this rosy red razorfish and trying to understand why it dives in the sand and what makes it come back up. So as I continue to ask these sort of questions and not get answers, it made me get the idea that, well, maybe there's other people who really want to know more about nature and about our marine environment. And maybe there's another way to do that. So I had this concept of bringing in scientists, and I didn't really know exactly how to do that. So how do you start an event like this? Well, the first thing I did was surround myself with some smart people. So we have this local artist. This is Helene, who is the prolific artist of Saba. And she had the perfect idea for our logo that's still our logo today. And her husband, Tom, is a respected biologist. So I first went to him to talk about who he knew and who we could bring in that first year when we didn't really have any money to work with. Then the other person I worked with was a good friend who retired at the age of 32 as from his own video production company. So obviously he was successful, but also a great IT guy. So utilizing him, we came up with this signature video that we still use today, and it's also a great storytelling. So I think just this video explains a lot about our. So you can see in the logo, we have a tropic bird, a stingray, and a bromeliad, which covers a lot of things. So what is See and Learn? Well, it's a lot of things that reaches a lot of people in a lot of different ways. And I'm going to attempt to explain that to you while at the same time showing you some great images of the island and why this event attracts so many people. So the real way to start a month-long event like this is to find some money. So I created a foundation years ago, and the Dutch are actually very philanthropic, and we have access to some great funding organizations. So this event would not be possible for this many years without the Prince Bernhard Fund. Prince Bernhard is from the royal Dutch family, and he is deceased now, but he is also how World Wildlife Fund started. So the Prince Bernhard Culture Funds is just another organization with endowments and plenty of money that go into good places. Public entity Saba means the Saba government. And after probably the first 8 to 10 years, they contacted me and said, hey, we think your event qualifies for subsidies. So they also subsidize the program each year. We started our first year of See and Learn with 4 sponsors. And as you can see now, we got a whole lot of sponsors. Basically, every business on the island sponsors this project in different ways. And a lot of it is in-kind support. So I will also explain how this all works because we think that's also kind of interesting. And here we go. So here's the end result is when we get to our website each year. But funding and community support is what allows us to invite 14 scientists each year from around the globe. We have a waiting list. We spend the entire year, or a good part of the year, researching and finding interesting, well-known, sometimes not well-known, but always interesting, intriguing scientists that we research to find out what they're looking at. You know, do they have a good reputation for dynamic presentations? And because Saba is a unique, beautiful destination, once we send that invitation to them, we normally get great feedback because they're like, oh, geez, I normally have a $10,000 speaker fee, but I wouldn't mind going to your island. And yes, what all is involved with that? So it's a bit of a vacation for the expert, but let me tell you, we get them working. But they also give a lot back to our community and to those of you who choose to come and experience the event and the island. So as you can imagine, the other question is, well, how do you run a month-long event? Because yes, the good news is I met my goal. Back in 2003, I said, my goal of putting this together is, yes, I'm certainly interested and excited by nature and the environment and protecting it. But geez, wouldn't it be a win-win if it turns out to be a good business thing? I said, my goal at the time is that, in the future, you have to book a year in advance to come to this event. And you might not have to book a year in advance, but we do sell it out every year. So it normally tends to be one of our busiest months of the year. And if you know anything about Caribbean dive destinations, a lot of places consider October still to be very off season. So we turned a slow month into a busy month. So how do I do that and run one of the busiest months of the year? I bring in fantastic interns. So that's who these 3 gals were. A fun picture taken a few years ago. So they tend to be incredibly overqualified, which is great for me. And they're eager to build their CV because, if you're even if you're a marine biologist or you have a master's degree in marine biology, it's not easy to get a job unless you've got real practical experience or great networking. So they take this short-term job to build their CV and to network with these scientists. And we have some really good, great stories out of that. So Dahlia here in the photo, she now is the Dutch Caribbean Nature Alliance Projects Manager. Serena is a practicing marine biologist in the Netherlands working on her PhD. And Leslie met her husband here and is teaching high school science back in Alabama. So all good stories. As you might imagine, getting a bunch of scientists to commit to a timeline is like herding cats. You might imagine that a month-long event also with many facets takes a lot of organizing, logistics, researching all year, planning, coordinating, dealing with budgets, and then we also have to do year-end reporting. But eventually, we always make it work. If you went to our website tonight for 2020, it's the only year we have not done the event because of COVID. And you'll see it's not quite complete because back in March, we had to pause everything, not knowing if we would run the event. And then in the weeks to come, we will start filling out exactly which scientists, when they recommit, when they start telling us dates, and then we'll start building the calendar. So what does that mean? Well, let me try and explain that. So here is Leslie, who hopefully is watching tonight because she's not here yet. She's coming back to Saba. What she's holding in her hand is the type of weekly poster we reproduce so that you as a visitor to the island can pick and choose if you want to do absolutely everything involved with See and Learn, or if you want to pick and choose that you only do this field project or go to that presentation. So that's the type of thing we produce on paper. We also produce it electronically, and we keep everybody informed. If we went back to that other photo, sorry, what I should have said is that behind the ladies there is a tent. So everything with See and Learn happens at a tent, open air, of course. And you come to the tent to sign up for a field project or to put your name on the list to get the taxi to the presentation or to a field project. So here we are with a montage again, trying to show you the different types of activities involved with See and Learn. An intriguing part of See and Learn is the nighttime presentations. So we start See and Learn every year on October 1, and we do a presentation every other night. So that means October 1, October 3, 5, 7, 9, on and on are nighttime presentations. Okay, so but they're all different. So the premise of See and Learn since 2003 is our slogan of enhance your environmental awareness. But we do it in a casual learning environment, not in a fluorescent lit classroom. Most of the venues are outdoors. Sometimes we definitely choose a larger indoor restaurant in case we have a weather concern. But it's always at a happy hour time frame. So since 2003, we have stuck to the presentation starts at 5:30. So as it's getting dark, you get these beautiful sunsets in some places. And because it's at 5:30 at that happy hour time frame, it also means that you are not missing out on any diving. You're not missing out on dinner plans. It's at that nice venue. And as you might, if you can look closer in that photo, there's always beverages of choice available. You can also then easily segue into dinner, which oftentimes is right at the place where the presentation is. You don't, of course, you can go wherever you want, or there's other dinner options close by. So all very easy and convenient. But the real meat and fun of See and Learn is all about hands-on learning, which hands-on learning we call field projects. Couldn't resist putting this photo in. So these are a bunch of cute kids who went on a field project. So we also do family-oriented field projects that people of all ages can participate. And we get out and about on field projects. So look at that, also beautiful scenery. So weather, Saba has 5 different climate zones, and every area is interesting. So from our tide pools to our rugged coastline to our forests, there are many different places that field projects are conducted. And I have to say, we've never run out of subject matters, and certainly never have run out of photo opportunities. If transport is required to get to a presentation or a field project, that's included free of charge. This is, again, thanks to our sponsors. All of See and Learn activities, we say, are fun and free and for everyone. So if you plan a trip in the month of October, this program does not cost anything additional. It's all value added. The only difference is if you go on a field project that's a dive, you would pay the dive operator as normal for the dive, but you don't pay extra for the actual additional experience. So terrestrial field projects may involve a hike like this, or maybe you're just going to a different area depending on the creature or the plant or the habitat. Participation can range from finding or locating a subject to conducting a survey or taking samples that you then go and analyze further, or maybe just to experience a certain area or to watch something in particular. Every expert does different things, and we've done that for 18 years. So whatever 18 times 14 is, you can get an idea of how many different things we have done already. Nighttime field projects are also very popular because that's kind of cool. Then you go after dinner in the dark. For example, we had bad experts in, and First, we had to hike up the mountain a bit and go into the cloud forest. And they actually mist netted bats, and everyone got to participate with that. So when there was a bat captured, which of course didn't hurt them, they knew what they were doing, then they could figure out if this was an insectivore or a fruit bat. You might not want to know how they do that, but yes, oftentimes you might be analyzing their poop, or you're looking at they obviously can also understand what type of bat it is depending on the features of the bat. But very cool things to do, daytime, nighttime, different habitats. But I'm guessing that most of the audience tonight are divers. So let's talk about some marine field projects and what takes place out on those boats. Sometimes, not so often, there are field projects that work for snorkelers, but the majority of them do need to be diving. And that's, of course, so we can get up close and personal to see what we're talking about or what we're supposed to be doing on that field project. Here we have Dr. Eric Bowman. That's a conch researcher, so you can see his left hand with a queen conch. We like to say, don't just dive, make a difference. So by experiencing and being part of the See and Learn program, we kind of guarantee you won't look at diving the same way again. And again, the underwater field projects can range from doing a survey to, I'm sorry, something fun's going on outside here, to actual research. A lot of our scientists are excited to come because they're like, oh, I'm in the middle of this research project. If I could have 3 extra days and access to a boat, that's really going to help me complete what I'm doing, and having extra hands to do it. So it's really a win-win-win oftentimes for the scientists and the participants. And sometimes we're using really sophisticated equipment. We've had people bring in, $10,000 apparatus to measure something or record something. And sometimes you have scientists who use rudimentary, simple, basic things, but can still get the type of results they need. If you like to learn, you will not be bored with anything going on in this program. This is a scientist who probably 15 years ago did coral transplanting with us before it was, the popular thing to do with coral nurseries. And if you've participated with coral nurseries at all, you would see that the methods he's using there are not necessarily what they do these days. So back then they were using epoxy. Now they find they get just as good, or if not better, results by using tie wraps or cable ties, which is certainly an easier and less expensive thing and something everybody can do underwater. And sometimes you're doing transect lines, and again, learning these types of skills is also very helpful going on another dive destination. But what about the kids? So our efforts and all this energy we spend on this program each year would be kind of wasted if we weren't engaging the next generation, as they're going to be the decision makers. They're going to be the voters as well. And most of the experiences with Saba are not done in the classroom, but this photo is great, especially because I know this kid who's now 20 years old. This is when these kids were looking at a fisheye. Isn't that cool? But See and Learn, for the most part, has always been about getting the kids out of the classroom and getting out to experience their nature island and to understand why it's so important to protect these resources. And when they're learning this, they also, it's also part of the message normally that it's important locally, but also regionally and globally. And the other positive of the See and Learn program in kids is that we're also giving them other mentors and other people to look up to and broadening their horizons. Excuse me one second. So if kids think, wow, this is fun, and geez, scientists aren't all old men with bald heads and thick glasses, but actually young, fun people, It also teaches kids on a little island that, wow, science can be fun, but I also have to understand that I have to be good at math and science. And geez, there's a whole lot of things I can do in the world other than just work at the local grocery store. And we have some great stories from that, and kids who have gone well beyond people's expectations. See and Learn for about the last 10 years has been actually part of the school curriculum in October. And that's for kids from kindergarten through high school. So each year, all those kids get some involvement with See and Learn. So they look forward to it, and certainly the teachers do too, because it's a nice break from the day-to-day. See and Learn is also about finding innovative ways to enhance environmental awareness. We have been involved in plays and skits and dance performances. It's also well researched that integrating art into your STEM subjects is also a really positive way for kids to learn overall and to start using their imagination in different ways. So we have incorporated a number of murals over the years. By doing so, we also learned that cultural philanthropic organizations are much more willing to support an environmental or science program if you incorporate art with it. And, you know, call us business people as well, but if we want this program to keep going on, we also have to continue chasing different ways to fund it. The program itself costs, if you were to consider all costs for the year-round event, it's $200,000. A lot of that we receive by in-kind support. So that means when the scientist comes to the island, they're not paying for their hotel room. So if we had to pay the hotel to accommodate that expert for 7 to 10 nights, what is the value of that? So the values of all those sort of costs are factored into that $200,000 number. We actually need about $30,000 cash per year to run the program, and that's where those funding organizations and donations come in. So here's a few examples of the community collaboration that has happened on some of the murals and projects over the years. This one in particular, we're very proud of because it's quite unique. This photo is not the finished product, but this is we call this the After Dark mural. And in, I think it was 2016, we had a number of scientists coming in whose subject matter were nocturnal creatures and such. So bats and scorpions and turtle behavior after dark, and some bottom dwellers and such. And then we realized, wow, that's kind of cool. So we got extra funding to do the After Dark program. And this community mural actually is using specific different paint. So this is the daytime version, but there's creatures in this mural that you don't see during the day, but because the paint they were made with absorbs light all day long, when you drive past this mural at night, you're seeing different creatures underwater and above that get illuminated in the darkness. So that's kind of cool. And this is the plaque that's on there commemorating that project and all the sponsors of it. Now, the test. Let's hope my video works. So, oops, hold on. In 2018, we were approached by it's called the Saba Life Program, which works with our seniors, our senior citizens. And this is a concept that I think is interesting in general, is the Saba Life Program keeps people out of nursing homes or long-term care facilities. And they do that by keeping seniors interested. So 3 or 4 days a week, seniors from all over the island are transported to the community center, and they do different things. They play games, they see movies, they talk, they do different exercises, they do art. So they approached us of, hey, can our senior citizens be part of the program? And at first we were like, well, I don't know, how's that going to work? Well, it's also another funding source, but what we found is it's actually very valuable. So here's a 1-minute video clip done just on this senior program.
For this year's See and Learn program, we're having our visiting scientists join us at the Saba Life Center to involve our seniors in the science of See and Learn.
While I was here, I came and gave a talk at the Life Center, and what I was really looking forward to was hearing how the elderly citizens felt about the frogs. The people here seem to enjoy it. It's part of their environment.
It was a really unique experience going to the Life Center here in Saba because I actually got to speak with fishermen that fished many years ago and hear their stories about what the reefs were like when they were younger.
As part of my research, it's very important to know the link between the local names of plants and the Latin names. So I was grateful to come to the Saba Life Center to talk to the senior citizens here because they know the local names. So thank you.
Sorry, let me get past that slide. Oh boy, come on. So now, since 2018, now we can say that our program reaches from kindergartners to 80, 90-year-olds. So everybody loves that, and obviously funding organizations are very happy the broader your reach is. In 2017 and also 2018, we stopped handing out t-shirts. So since we started See and Learn, we also realized that great word of mouth and advertising that lasts all year long is when people see your logo and see the website. So we used to reward, anyone who participated in a field project by getting a free t-shirt. And then in 2017, we said, maybe we should be giving back to the environment more. And instead of handing out a t-shirt, let's do something to reduce plastic. So then we came up with the idea of handing out a water bottle to everybody instead of a t-shirt. And then last year, we took it to another level. And to further reduce plastics and waste on the island, we got these wonderful little carry bags made out of burlap and bamboo cutlery and stainless steel straws and a straw cleaner, so that we are hopeful, because a lot of people here do carry out, that instead of adding plastic to the environment, that people would walk with their own utensils. And a lot of people embraced us for that. Last year in 2019, we did something very different. We have a dive shop in Canada called Float and Flag that has come to Saba with a group many times. And last year we took it another level with them, and they didn't just participate in our normal day-to-day activities, but we did a PADI specific certification for them, and they were involved in a pretty intense week-long project of Caribbean coral restoration. So they still did fun dives, but they also did a lot of work. They did some academic background, and every day worked with our coral nursery experts to understand the whole process, from starting with fragments, how it has to be cleaned regularly, actually taking the fragments and finally restoring them on the reef. So this is just another example of the type of things we can do for people who are interested. Over the years, we've done some really cool things like premiering movies. So on a little island like Saba, it's also fun to see the kids' eyes light up who have never been to a movie theater and see them on a big screen and great sound, but at the same time, be able to watch a first-class made movie that's also a great message about the environment. And with that funding, we have brought in some directors of films so that there was questions and answers, and be able to really learn about how the film was made and why. The island government and the healthcare facilities of Saba also recognize that See and Learn does a really great job of providing a platform and advertising it and getting people interested. So we've also done either mini presentations or what we call 5 square mile night, where it's a longer evening but with different projects involved or announced. So maybe a 15-minute message about the new recycling plant or what they're doing with the solar plant, or the healthcare time was about skin cancer. So they took the time to educate people using our platform to do so. Other fun things when you're here is there's raffles. So we sell like $2 raffle tickets and you can win great prizes, but these are, and over the years, the prizes have gotten better and better. And these are, again, just ways to pay for some of our expenses that require cash. We're also proud that See and Learn helped inspire some, I wouldn't call it sequels, maybe spin-offs. So there was a 3-year Shark Week project that was throughout the Dutch Caribbean. So the kids of Saba aren't afraid of sharks. They understand why sharks are in our ocean and why we have to respect them. This is a mural that was created during that project. And there's also the benefit, excuse me, of the press we've received. We've had numerous magazine articles, newspaper articles written about the project, which of course makes us feel good, but it's also great advertisement for our destination. And we also expanded our program 1 year and shared a dolphin expert with St. Martin, and that actually stopped a dolphinarium from being developed on the island and obviously saved dolphin lives around the world. So some pretty cool things have been done as results of See and Learn. We like magazine and newspaper articles, but scientists love publishing their work. So by giving them the ability of sponsored research time and such, there have been many, many publications that have also cited their appreciation to See and Learn for that possibility. For a number of years, we have worked, well, this is part of See and Learn. We call it the YELP program, Youth Environmental Leadership Program. So with this side project, we not just taught the youth of Saba to dive, but they learned to dive with a goal. So they had to learn to dive and get in a number of practice dives before October, so that when the scientists were here, they didn't just go diving, they got to be involved with some hands-on activities with a real scientist. Also under the umbrella of See and Learn is a separate after-school program that is year-round. And yeah, the kids have fun, so keeps them off the streets, they learn something. And of course, the goal of the island is that future marine park directors and dive shop owners and such will be the products of our own youth and not have to bring in outside people to do these things. Wouldn't you wish you had these opportunities when you were a kid, huh? In the last couple of years, we've also expanded our reach by utilizing Facebook Live. The last couple of years, we've got it to a far more professional level with multiple cameras and mixing board and great sound, so that if you can't get here in October, or even if you come for only a week to 10 days, but you want to experience the rest of the program, you can tune in on Facebook Live and watch the presentations as if you were there. We also have our own YouTube channel. So you'll find videos going back many years that were either produced by the production company that are specific interviews with a scientist, or films of specific projects done, or the live streaming. So all kinds of things can be found on that YouTube channel. You just type in See and Learn Saba and you'll find our channel. Other great positives are the networking that has happened between scientists and our government. And to be fair, if there's a hot topic during the year that might have some debating capabilities, then hey, we'll bring in a scientist to further educate everybody and to meet with the government so that they can make sure that their decisions are in the right area to protect the environment. And this is a photograph on the right, was our governor and a Dutch minister signing real law into effect protecting marine mammals here. And that is a law that will be long lasting. So these are all things to be proud of. The other cool thing about Saba is that our government are the product of years of environmental protection, not all relative to See and Learn, but our Conservation Foundation. Our head decision maker, politician, is in his early 30s, and he has his own children now. So he's a real advocate for See and Learn and for protecting Saba so that it can be all the things it has been in the past. In his short term as being in charge in the last, I don't know, I guess we're going on 8 years, he not only instituted that $9 million recycling plant. So imagine $9 million recycling plant on a 5 square mile island with 1,500 people. Not bad. Thank you to the Dutch. They've also made Saba solar. So we have very little dependence on fossil fuels. They just expanded the solar fields. So we now have 2 solar fields. And we're pretty much running on solar, and they're going to bring in some wind generators as well. Whoops, I went the wrong way. So here's my quick summary before I tell you a little bit more about Saba. So after this, I hope you can agree that you know, or you agree that See and Learn is fun and free. It's all about awareness. We're actually a nonprofit. Every dollar absolutely goes toward the program. Somebody like me makes no salary or anything. It's just toward the program. It's for tourists and locals. It's every year in October. It can only be found on Saba. And if you got a non-diver in your group or as your partner, there's plenty of things for them to do as well. And we hope it's inspiring and creative. So if you don't know anything about Saba, I'm going to take 5 more minutes to just tell you a little bit more. So here's our 5 square mile island. The top peak is at 3,000 feet. And what you're looking at there is the world's smallest international runway. Our harbor is on the other side of the island. If you can't tell already, we like to say we're not a typical dive shop. We truly believe in nature protection, and we learn every year more and more, and we translate that knowledge also to our guests, and obviously that passion. Saba is a marine park with 30 dive sites that are all permanent moorings. So that means it provides an ascent and descent line. Sea Saba is a PADI 5-star resort, meaning we adhere to the highest standards in the industry. We are obviously a sponsor of See and Learn. And back when PADI and National Geographic had an affiliation, we were a PADI Nat Geo dive center. Companies like Deep Blue, I think, are happy working with us because we also have fast response times. Because we understand, I go on vacation too, and when you're in the mood to plan a vacation, you don't want to wait 3 days for an answer or a week. So we pride ourselves on getting answers out within the hour. We have comprehensive packages, so there's no hidden costs or surprises. Easy ways to pay. We've got a 35-year reputation, all great stuff. And for those of you looking at possibly booking a group, understand that we do 20 to 30 groups a year, so we get it. We know what you're looking for. These are just a few images to show we're a real dive shop. That's the front doors of our office retail store, which is at this historical location on the main corner. And we got a great retail shop. We've got 3 or 4 of us working in here normally, not right now. And that's our facility at the harbor with over 200 tanks, 3 compressors, nitrox system, everything we need. And then we got another workshop that you don't want to see because that's a little messy, but keeps these boats running. So we have 2 40-foot boats. We're all about quality, and we only put a maximum of 10 divers on a 40-foot boat if you book as just 1 or 2 people coming to Saba. If you book as a group, then we'll put a group of 14 on a boat with 3 dive instructors. Assuming everybody's from North America tonight, this is just to give you an idea where we are. So to orient you, here's the Caribbean in that square, a lot of islands you might have been to already. But to narrow it down, we are right there. And we're just 28 miles south of St. Martin. So we're actually very easy to get to because the island of St. Martin has this international airport that is serviced by every airline. American, Delta, United, JetBlue, for Canadians, SunQuest, or Sunwing, WestJet, Spirit, you name it, and European carriers from Air France, KLM, and different charters all go into St. Martin. And then we are just a 12-minute flight from St. Martin to Saba. If you don't like flying, or if you say my group's going to have lots of luggage, well, we've also got the option of a 40-passenger ferry, and the ferry takes 90 minutes. So there's different ways to get here. So I am right at 45 minutes or so, and I'm going to do a sunset shot to thank everybody for your attention. I'm more than happy to answer any questions or direct them through Cheryl. And I hope to see you in October, and I hope you enjoyed learning more about our program. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. That was an awesome presentation. I appreciate that. For anybody that has any questions, you're welcome to direct them straight to Lynn. If you're not familiar with Zoom, in the chat box, you've got an area you can type. Even better, there's an area you can raise your hand so that you can ask questions that way and avoid the typing. There's also a Q&A box, so if anybody is shy or you don't have a working microphone, you can do it that way also. I just have to say that I love this program a lot. I mean, talk about covering all the facets, the eco side, the sustainable. I think all of us as divers, we've got a certain part where we want to be a marine biologist. It's like, man, we should have chose that. And also, I think the terrestrial side of it as well. And then the give back and the education with the kids and with the older folks, like, I just think it's tremendous all the way around. So, I mean, kudos to you. I really love it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, so I've babbled on long enough. We've got a couple of hands up here. So we are trying to unmute you right now. Lona O'Rourke, you're on.
Yes, Lynn, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Perfect. What amazing work you've done over so many years. Incredible. Thank you. So my question is, do you have a core of programs that you do every year, as in maybe perhaps having to do with seagrass, or, the same where you do actual research and I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It's just a core of programs that you repeat every year.
No.
So it's different every year.
Different every year. We have repeated some things when, for example, there is a conch researcher on the island of Statia, and I just saw that Marika's in the room, and Marika owns School Aqua and Statia, so we're friends, dive shop owners on nearby islands. So we had their conch expert here a couple years ago, and then we brought him back last year because he's doing a 3-year research project on the islands in the region. So 3 years ago, he introduced us to the project, and then 3 years later, it was great to do an update, do more hands-on work with him here, and have him update us to tell us what they've really learned about the queen conch in this region. But no, or we certainly have done coral nurseries more than once because that information keeps evolving and we keep learning more. But we don't do the same subjects or projects every year as a normal year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Joseph Snyder, I see your comments in the chat box, and I can certainly ask Lynn your question, but if your mic is working, we'll pop you on next. In the meantime, Larry Klinger, you're on.
Hey, Lynn, it's good seeing you again. I know that we talked during DEMA. I'm excited to come in October. I sent you an email earlier, but do you have anything that I can use to promote it to the school programs that I work with? I run a dive shop, but we also have Curious Minds Dive Foundation that we put together, and really would like to get some of these kids down there. I know we also discussed, if not October, you have scientists on the island year round. Is that correct?
Correct. Let me answer that question first. So there is very few days in the year that there isn't at least one scientist on Saba, and that's because our Conservation Foundation embraces them. They work with them. For example, right now, even in COVID times, we have an urchin researcher who is living on the island as part of his PhD thesis. He's got 4 students with him. We take them out at least every other week. They're actually propagating urchins on land, and they take them out on our boat, putting them in these specialized artificial reef projects. But one of my goals of starting See and Learn years ago was actually just what you're talking about, is getting adult groups from like the Sierra Club, or certainly getting school groups, and maybe even doing exchange programs. That's what we've also talked about. We looked at a Dutch school in the Netherlands and looking at doing an exchange program of, they bring 10 kids, we bring them 10 kids. What can I send you? You mean like paper wise to send to the schools, or could we not just do a presentation like this again? I don't know what.
Presentation would be fine, but it's just collecting or getting them all together at one time. I would like to be able to put more meat with a 1-pager I can send, and then follow up with the schools that I work with in the Pittsburgh, Texas, Delaware, and Florida areas. So
Okay.
I just don't know when I'd be able to get them all together because of their schedules.
We've got all kinds of documentation. My first question to Cheryl is, you didn't record this, is that correct?
We did record this, yes. So this will be up on our YouTube in a couple of days.
Okay.
Right, maybe that's helpful, Larry.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And Joseph Snyder, your mic is working, you're on.
Yeah, you asked if I was shy. No, I posted the question before you said to ask them out loud. So, hi, Lynn. I don't know if you remember me or not. We visited you, I think it's about 2 years ago now.
Yes, I do. You're a photographer also, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And what I wanted to ask you was, so I don't know if I missed it at the very beginning. So if somebody wanted to participate with this, aside from the scientists and things that you need to arrange well in advance, this is something that an individual, a small group of 3, a group of 10 could reach out and contact you with and say, hey, we want to participate at some point during October. When are your openings? What are the subjects? What are the weeks? And you can accommodate any mix of those types of groups?
Absolutely. Okay. And you can do that through Deep Blue. I can plug them for this,
no problem.
Or however you normally book. But yeah, we try, when I say we sell the event out every year, right now, hopefully Larry is booking his group, and I've got another group doing one other week, and that will put a group each week. But that's why we have 2 boats, and that's why we try not to have groups that are occupying both those boats during October, because we have a core of return customers who come every year. Some come every year for 2 weeks, some come every year for 1 week, some come for 10 days. But we like to have that flexibility so that individuals can come in October as well. What I always say is, please don't book your airfare before you check with me to make sure what that availability is.
Got it. Okay.
And then by the time all that happens, then we normally end up filling them up. But yeah, by all means. And the fun part is, you're around a lot of like-minded people in October. So people are interested, and it's contagious as well.
Very good. Thank you so much.
And if somebody was coming as a single, it's the perfect month to come and be social if you want to be social or not, because there's a lot of people, you're not going to feel like you're going to dinner by yourself at any time.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's probably a really great bonding experience as well. I mean, like you said, like-minded people, and just you've automatically got that interest in bonding, as well as, for the diving portion of it, which, by the way, if anyone has any non-divers, I mean, this is perfect for them as well. But divers already kind of have a common thing when you go on a dive vacation, but I think it automatically fosters things to talk about, experiences to share. So I think it's an excellent opportunity for solos and couples or what have you that want to meet other people along the way. And you do it in a social environment too. So it's not like sitting in a classroom or anything. I mean, you did that one picture where if I was going to sit in any kind of presentation, that's exactly where I would want to sit. So.
No, they're all some really beautiful. We've also done them in the forest. I couldn't find that picture, but yeah, we've done it in some cool places.
Well, and Saba is just absolutely breathtaking in general. I mean, it's just a spectacular island. For anyone that has not been there, it is absolutely gorgeous. The topography is just simply stunning.
Lynn, where on your website you've got kind of the experts for 2020. Can I ask when you think you might have some of the schedule for 2021 up?
Normally, and this is why I said it's like herding cats. We were so far ahead of the game this year. You know, in March, we almost had the program in place. And yeah, then of course, thanks to COVID, everything's on pause. I normally set my goal as June to hope that website's got most of the experts up. But what my groupies understand is that a lot of those schedules don't come out till 6 or 8 weeks before the event, and some last minute things, because it's so hard to, we have to also work backwards because of the school schedules, and then the school teacher isn't there and they're not back till August, and getting that schedule in place is our biggest struggle. But
Right.
what the people know who have been to See and Learn more than once is it doesn't really matter when you come. It's always a great event. But if somebody's like, oh no, I absolutely want to come when the shark expert's there, because normally we do a shark expert every year because everybody loves sharks and there's so much to learn about sharks. And then we may not have it on the website, but if you wanted to know that, you could email me and I'd say, oh, well, I don't have his dates exactly yet or her dates, but we know they're coming toward the end of the month. You know,
Right.
and the best thing you can do if you're coming as an individual is to come for more than a week to make sure you hit more presentations or more field projects. But getting that fine tuning of juggling, because it starts off that we've got 4 people and they got absolute weeks, right? Then as we keep going, then we have to put out of like, okay, now we need to find experts just to fill this specific time frame, because not every expert's, they're not all coming Saturday to Saturday. You know, one's going to come on a Wednesday and leave the following Friday. One can only come for 4 days. So it's this whole juggling act of filling the month and making sure that their presentation isn't until 2 days after they get here, until in case there's a delay. Some of them need to present after they've done their field work. Some need to do it the other way around. So that's what's the whole time consuming thing. So when are we going to have the schedule out? We should have it sooner than normal, because most of those experts that got delayed for 2020 definitely want to come in 2021. So I would hope May, but I don't know. Most of them are kind of in place already.
Right. Okay.
Sorry, that wasn't an easy answer.
No, it's hard putting all that stuff together. And like I said, I wasn't trying to rush you. I just, you know, as far as like trying to wait to see if we've got people who are interested to kind of mix and match their events, you know, would just nice to have that kind of guideline for a time frame.
Okay. It'll be in October.
Larry, did you have another question?
Yeah, sorry, Larry, you're on again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Do you have any idea when they're lifting restrictions?
Well, in a word, no, but to elaborate on that, I was personally told in a one-on-one meeting with the commissioners, which is our head politicians, the head of public health, and our governor, that when Saba is vaccinated, well, they think we'll get 1,000 doses in the first round, because they come in doses of 500. And they think they will send us 1,000 to make sure the vulnerable of Saba are protected. And that's 66% of our population. So at that point, the public health doctor said he will be confident that we could handle it from there. So I'm an optimist. I hope our borders are going to open by April. And, they said maybe March or, so, but I don't have that answer yet. And I'm sure they're going to tell us as soon as they can, but obviously they don't want to make promises until they can be assured by the Dutch when we're going to get those vaccinations.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's kind of uncertain times right now, but we're hoping by this time next year we'll be as close to normal as we're ever going to be. One thing I will say is these guys have been tremendous, and the airlines have as well, as far as flexibility. Obviously, it might be difficult to duplicate the event a different time of year. But as Lynn mentioned, there's resident scientists all year round if you didn't want to delay the whole thing by another year. But with anyone that has been booked so far, nobody has lost their money. Everybody has been absolutely fantastic as far as accommodating preferred dates, full credits and things like that. And that goes with the airlines as well. So as much as you can be in a very difficult situation, if it is something you want to plan and remain optimistic for, and then know that if we are still facing this in a year's time, that absolutely Lynn will work with you, the airlines will work with you, everybody involved will work with you. And obviously if we're involved, we're going to be on your side making sure that happens too. So that's about as much peace of mind as we can give right now during these times, unfortunately. But and we do have a COVID-19 tab on our website, by the way, if you want to keep up to date on what different destinations are doing as far as protocols and things like that, destinations as they open and entry requirements, if they put any in place once it does. This is your last chance, everybody. It looks like all our hands are lowered. If anybody has any last minute questions, please raise your hands or pop something in the chat or Q&A box now. Otherwise, I think we have covered everybody's questions this evening. This is our last We Can Still Dream for the year. We are going to take the holidays off. So we're going to have off next week and the new year as well. So we will be back in January, though. For anyone that's enjoyed this, we've been doing it for a while, 7 p.m. Eastern on a Tuesday, and we'll remain doing that in the new year. But if you are new, please know that that's our kind of slotted time. And we will have that posted, what our different subjects are, very soon on our We Can Still Dream tab on our website.